What is going on, blockheads? I got some more stuff that I found before we get to the majors. So apparently, I had some stuff set aside that was not on the shelves. So I think we'll go through some of that. So there's this whole pile of stuff, and there's a variety of stuff in there. There's also this base plate, which was off to the side, and also this thing, which I believe is from an episode 2, something Geonosian battle, perhaps, with Doku and Yoda, which are not to be found at the moment, but they're around here somewhere. One of the interesting things was I found the microfighter. So apparently the microfighter was opened and has been assembled. So I don't know if the X-Wing was or not. We'll have to keep an eye open for that one. But apparently the TIE Fighter one is open and complete. So we'll set him aside, have to find a home for him. So this interesting thing right here. So at one point when I was working on building up scenes, I was trying to get as many spare parts as I could from the Lego store, preferably clear. And I was building my own bases, so or stands, if you will, to put some of the flying units on. And I see another one over in here. So I apparently had a couple of these assembled. Now, depending on the structure, I don't know if they were capable of supporting the weight all the time, probably depending on how I put them on the units. But this one is also another example of the thing I pointed out on the droid ship before. So I apparently was using these angled windshield pieces. I had some clear pieces to support the bottom, and then I layered those back and forth in order to minimize, visibility, of course. Not that you can't see it, but the idea is your eyes are not to draw attention to the stand as much as the unit itself, and preferably if you angle it correctly, maybe they would be behind the unit. So it's just interesting that there's a couple of those floating around in there, so maybe sometime in the future those will get brought back into play if we ever work on a scene again. So I don't know about this base plate here. There's a good chance that I may have built this custom. I mean, probably randomly put bricks together, so if I had enough beige pieces in order to perhaps build up for this Geonosian piece. So there's a random wall piece here, so I don't know if that came apart, was unused, but we'll take a look at this Geonosian piece here. So if I had to look at this, I would say this is probably a little bit more elaborate than the original, so I don't know if I maybe bought 2 of these and then perhaps merge the pieces together to maybe give it a little more elevation. It's a little bit more on the unknown side. It seems like something I would have done, because I don't think Lego would have necessarily used a base plate just like this, but I could be wrong. So there's a couple unknowns. We'll find out once we eventually find the instructions and stuff. So that is just an extra that was sitting off to the side, and we'll take a look at that more in the future. So here's another batch of stuff. So the base plate here is clearly from the aquatic item here, but there's some other stuff here that we're going to take a look at as we try to unfold this mess, which was just collecting stuff. So now that we've had a chance to look at the Ultra Agents thing, I believe this was like a bad guy or villain unit from the Ultra Agents. Again, I really like the colors on this, even though I like the semi portion a lot better. This is still pretty cool, the green and the black. You got some kind of claw looking thing going on here. Bet you that kind of springs out a little bit. Well, not spring. Nope, maybe not. I guess it's not retractable. I don't know if that's more of a claw. A little difficult to do this in testing with one hand, so I guess when we revisit this, we'll look at it a little more closely. So, like before, I bet you this probably went in one of these craters here and probably had these stack, and maybe they set them up individually, but here's the plants again, and apparently there's a green and a red this time. So we know that's for the aquatic one. And then this is a little bit more of a drone. I don't know if this is meant... you might be able to fit a figure in there. But this is also part of the Ultra Agents set. So nice to know that these are kind of in the neighborhood. And there's a whole mixture of things here. So here we go. Apparently, not only do I have those Swamp Troopers from the Kashyyyk set, but I have a box that's open, and there's probably a couple of these guys. Now, here's something else I was doing for display purposes. I was using the clear pieces to give them kind of like the snowshoes so that they could be posed, more so in an action variety. Like that way you can put them in an action pose, and, these would help stabilize them, because they with having the rifle in hand or having these big helmets, they're going to fall over real easily. So there was some method to the madness here, at least in the adult era of temporarily wanting to make scenes and stuff, which of course never came to reality. This stuff got shoved to the side when other things came along. So again, here's another one of the Swamp Troopers. Also got the blaster. Also got the makeshift clear snowshoes. And these are just 1x2s. There's nothing special here. I thought I saw one that may have had one of those clear skis, but maybe I was wrong. Also, so here we go. So here is a standard battle droid. Got those arms, which are kind of the common ones, and of course the blaster. These guys were far more likely to fall over. There is absolutely no weight, no mass to these things. These guys were almost like required to have the clear pieces in order to keep them standing unless you had them on a platform. So the other reason to have these is because if you're not putting stuff on, say, a base plate everywhere, I mean, you got to get them stand up and do some action somehow. So there was a reason for that. So we got a couple others here. These are likely the Ultra Agents. So I found a random piece on the floor the other day, fell off the instruction box, and it was one of these little gray clips. I didn't realize what it was at first. So at some point they got into these little spring-like mechanisms to fire the circle at the end. Now, I guess I kind of like the idea. I've seen iterations over the years. Back when they first introduced the pirate ships, the original cannons actually had springs in them. I don't even know if I have one of those. I think a friend might have had one, so I'll have to double check once we get into the pirate stuff. But the whole concept was, I don't know if Lego retracted from costs, from danger, from small parts. I would think it's not necessarily small parts because these are pretty small as well, so you can't say it's necessarily from a choking hazard. But the cannons went from spring-loaded to physical moving part that you would have to flick it with your fingers to not having any movable parts whatsoever. So they've definitely gone through some iterations of coming up with creative ideas to make, projectiles, and I guess this kind of fits the bill. It's just not very stylish, though, but they had to make it universal to, make it work for different kinds of figures and themes. So it is kind of cool. I mean, like with the space visors, at least these goggles kind of go up. Look there, the character. But yeah, cool. So that's an Ultra Agent character. Couldn't tell you if they got a name or not. Let's take the bullet and remove that. And then we probably have some more of those. She looks a little bit like Scooby-Doo. I don't know. Again, another Ultra Agent figure. And then, yet again, another Ultra Agent figure. Looks like she's got a jetpack. That's pretty beefy. The pink hair and the visor going. I mean, the black and the pink kind of works. Oh, yep. And she's got... Apparently I had them set up because she's got the snowshoes going on. Oh, look, more Swamp Troopers with snowshoes. Now, this guy has actually got the different helmets, so let me move some things around here. So I guess I didn't realize the difference. This guy's got more of the Scout Trooper look. So I don't know my helmets and Star Wars lore well enough, but these are the ones that were cool. These were the ones that were very like the Scout Troopers on Endor, and then these are more like your Episode 3 and early Episode 4. I mean... Obviously, there's a distinction between your clone troopers and stormtroopers, but this was the hybrid going from 2 to 4, obviously, Episode 3's version. What else we got? Ooh, we got a super battle droid. So I don't know if there's different iterations of these. Seems a little darker than I remember. So I don't know if they had a darker plastic. Looks like he's got only one snowshoe, so there's probably another snowshoe floating around here somewhere. And then, see, I definitely went to town with buying all the excess minifigs, or some of these may have come from the extra battles and stuff. So maybe this isn't just cannibalizing, numerous minifig packs. But there's another one of the regulars. So we got a random piece here. This is probably likely another one of the things from like the pea shooter. And we're actually almost reaching a point here to work on this, but there's still a lot of dudes under there. So, you know what? This is not Lego, random Wile E. Coyote, so don't really need to say a whole lot with that. Another Swamp Trooper. Oh, look, another Swamp Trooper. Oh, we got the Special Ops one. He's got the rifle. So I guess we could stop and look at him a little bit. So it's kind of interesting. The rifles, they actually took a Technic piece to extend the barrel. It's kind of clever. So helmet's the same. I can't really see the chest piece clear enough. We'll spend some more time on them later, but definitely snowshoes. Like, so no, I did not have these set up on the aquatic thing. It was just more because as a base plate, it probably made it easier to take one of the things that was on display, move all the figures off the shelf, put it on there, and then another blaster, no surprise there, and yet another one. And then, oh look, so this probably indicates that this came from the droid ship because we got a Chewbacca here. So, of course, this is kind of funny. This is not an actual bowcaster. This is like the crossbow. I remember these going back to your castle stuff from the 90s. I think the castle stuff originally had a traditional bow and arrow. Then at some point, they got modernized and had the crossbow in, but I don't know if they've ever done a modern bowcaster or boltcaster for Chewbacca. But yeah, this is not it. So I guess it's as good as it's going to get for the moment, but... There's Chewie. So there's our missing snowshoe. And then I guess we'll talk about this big piece here. So I did mention that I had a couple of eBay purchases. English, talking a little too long here. This was one of two that I can remember. I don't know that I really had many Lego eBay purchases other than the Spacewalker, which is up there on the shelf, and this guy here. So apparently as a teenager, I must have really liked the aquatic stuff. The fact that I probably wanted this and never got it. And then when, as an adult and as eBay came around, I probably prioritized this and said, hey, I can finally get that and, you know, find it and have it affordable. So this has got some interesting stuff. This will probably be better inspected in light later, but it's got one of these large portcullis kind of gates on it. It looks like it's got a shark pen because there's a shark under there. And then this has got all kinds of fun stuff that was really common in the space era. So during the M-Tron, the Blacktron, all that kind of stuff, you had these kind of pods. So these were also pretty new during the Space Police era. And then this, I think, kind of stuff started happening during the Futuron and the Blacktron stuff. I might not be saying one of those correctly. But it looks like there's the box in here. So with the magnetic stuff, you had the ability to pick these items up, and that's kind of stuck in there. I'm not going to try to bust that out. There's still a dude in here with a chrome knife. And, of course, the headpiece should go up there. Looks like it does. And he's got the flippers on still. So apparently they made enough room for him to be in there without having to remove all of his accessories. So there's probably other cool stuff to explore here, but this is just a larger, more elaborate version of the one that we pulled out of the Spalding box. And so there you go. So it's still got the shark print on it. Pretty cool. It's got the snake claw arms. One's got a magnet. One's got the pinchers. And then there's probably some more gadgets and gizmos. It's got the propellers in the back. It is missing one of the antenna, but we saw that. It is sitting right there. So as far as I know, all pieces are likely intact. So it's even got the spear or the harpoon in the back. It looks like we might be missing one on that side. Maybe something else was supposed to go there, but we'll check. Looks like flippers are still intact on this one. I did put those on the peg, so I didn't have to maneuver them like I did with the original. But as far as I know, other than being a little dusty, this thing's in pretty good shape. I mean, they did a pretty good job with the dock on this thing. It rests in there nicely. Looks really good for a display piece. So I'll have to do some research, figure out what the name is. So this was sitting off in a corner because it is intact. I'm guessing I used it as a display at some point. And then, unfortunately, as storage needs came along, it just became a resting place for all these figures. And then I figure what we'll do here. So let's move our aquatic plants. Let's kind of do an inventory of how many stormtroopers or swamp troopers we got here. This is quite a few. Sorry if I move the camera too much. I'm not used to this kind of multitasking. Of course, I could cut this, but you know what? You get the raw experience, sound effects and all. So we got our Ultra Agents. Got the drone, battle droid. So here we go. So polish these up a little bit here. So here's Ultra Agents and the drone. And this big bad vehicle, we'll put him in there. We'll do something to spruce those up a little bit later. But here's the abundance of swamp troopers. So it looks like we have about 8, probably across a couple sets here. Chewbacca, super battle droid, regular battle droid, and another one. So there you have it. This is just random stuff that was floating around, and we'll do another dive into some of this in the near future.